I just remembered there's another thing about flying. This isn't about flying. Actually, this is, but the rest of this wasn't meant to be. Did a lovely show once, Pajama Game, and in Pajama Game, there was a scene in a market where there's lots of big strips of fabric hanging down all over the stage. I don't know why I'm looking around. There isn't any in here. Loads of big strips of fabric all over the stage, and they all had to fly in together, which was easy enough because they were all rolled up, and they had electromagnets attached to the stuff. So someone pressed a button, the electromagnets released, and all these rolls of fabric unfolded and rolled down. Beautiful market. It all felt very Tuareg. Anyway, at the end of the scene, the director decided he wanted them all to fly out, disappear altogether. This was tricky because individually they're not very heavy. You get a roll of fabric, even quite a long roll of fabric. So each roll was probably about 8-9 meters long, 4 feet wide. So see the way I just mix imperial and metric measurements here. Anyway, so they're all dangling down. There's about 10 of them all over the stage. So what I did was make a special system rather than hanging them on the counterweights because they don't weigh as much as a Volvo, so they didn't need it. I had them on thin line that I then took up to the grid, loads of pulleys, and they all went to one thing together so that one person could pull and they all flew out together. Oh dear, my thing's falling over. It seemed simple enough. The director decided this was the way to go, but he wanted them to go out faster. Cut a long story short, ended up having all the lines going to the upstage end of the fly floor, and in the grid above the fly floor. So you've got the stage, about 30 feet up is the fly floor where the people doing the flying stand with the counterweight system, and then right up the grid, which is about 60 feet up in, say roughly, in a lot of old theatres. The Victoria Palace was about 60 foot, to the loading gallery where weights are put in the counterweights when you're then going to fly something, and also you can get to the grid from up there. Anyway, so what we did was I had all these thin lines coming into one thicker line, and I tied it to a rope that was nice to hold on to, and I went up to the loading gallery, up a vertical ladder called a Jacob's ladder, a metal ladder that goes up to the fly floor and went up to the grid. And what I decided would probably work was all the weight of all these strips of fabric and all the friction in the system meant that if I held on and just jumped off, I thought what will probably happen is I'll go down from the loading gallery to the fly floor, about 30 feet, and as I go down, all the fabric will go up. Do you know, it worked brilliantly. Absolutely fantastically. It felt about right, and I had to keep my elbows in, so as I went down the Jacob ladder, I didn't bash my elbows on any of the metal rungs. Landed on the fly floor, stuff gone out. Director thought it was brilliant. There you go. Job's a good one. Now, this worked really, really well until I had the night off and got my friend Dom to fly them out instead. Now, Dom, fantastic bloke, lovely, salt of the earth, lovely man. Not to put too fine a point on it, Dom's a bit bigger than me, quite a bit bigger than me, to be honest. It didn't really occur to me, nothing really occurred to me until I had a phone call with him afterwards where he called me a bastard and pointed out that what happened when he went up to the loading gallery, grabbed hold of the rope and jumped, was that the fabric went out really quite quickly. That didn't go well. That wasn't what we were going to talk about anyway, was it? I was going to talk about... what was I going to talk about? Infrared cameras, that was it, yeah. Infrared cameras, brilliant idea. It means that, you may or may not be aware, when you have shows in the theatre, you have the DSM and on the fly floor and wherever else, automation. People all have little screens so they can see what's happening on the stage, and they have an infrared one so they can see what's happening during a blackout, which is really, really good. What you can normally see during a blackout is a load of slovenly crew strolling across the stage, picking their nose and moving stuff slowly. What I saw one particular night was on the fly floor, flying in quite a substantial wall downstage, and flying it in, and it didn't reach its in-dead. An in-dead, that refers to the in, as in down, dead, where it goes to. In this instance, the floor, the stage floor. That's where it was meant to reach, and it didn't reach. There was something impeding it. I couldn't really work out what it was. So I had a look on the infrared camera, and I could see. Well, a pair of legs, to be honest, was what was most noticeable, and that was because the old, famous, nice, quietly spoken American actor who was in this show had finished his scene and gone to move upstage and has fallen over. No one had told us, so we went ahead with the fly cue and we flew in the thing, and the reason it wouldn't hit the floor was because it was just squashing into his little fat tummy and trapping him underneath it. So every time we tried to put it in, it sort of bounced a bit. I thought, that's odd. And then what happened, as you can see on the infrared camera, we'd stopped doing this because we realised there was a pair of legs, and the legs disappeared upstage, and then it flew in and it was fine. Thought nothing more of it. So that was all right. And evidently he was dragged off to the wings and pacified. So all's well that ends well. There you go.